Today we're going to show you how to remove the front bumper off of a Toyota Corolla. Open up your hood. Make sure you put your safety bar up. You don't want to get hit in the head as you're taking the bumper off. I've seen it done, it happens. So the bumper is held on by different angles. Over here we have a bracket behind here. We're going to show you. There's a screw that holds this bumper in place, and then there's a side screw here that holds it in place there. And there's typically a rivet here, which we will reinstall at the end because it's not there. You have plastic rivets all along the bottom of the bumper. You have, on the front end, you have plastic rivets here, and you have 10mm bolts here. And there's going to be 4 of them across the bumper. You can use a ratchet wrench. If you got a drill, it's more helpful. Put your 10mm on there. It's going to allow you to move quicker. Now you're going to want to make sure and don't lose any of your hardware. So find a good spot to put your hardware. I like to put it up here on the cowl. That way it doesn't go anywhere. Sometimes if you got it on the floor in a bucket or a cup, you kick it over and boom, hardware everywhere. So put it up here. That way it's nicely laid out. You know where it's at. We're going to remove the plastic rivets. We're using a flathead. There is a specialty tool for this. But I want to show you that a flathead is really good to be able to get this job done. There you go. So this guy, the purpose of this is your bumper, and when it goes inside the bumper notch, it clips and it snaps open down here to hold the bumper in place. So pop it off, put it up here, put your hardware. So now the top part is loose. We're gonna go ahead and undo the bottom. That way when we undo the sides, the bumper is actually hanging off by something. The tip here is, if this bumper was on a different car and it's heavier, you don't want the bumper falling on you with all the accessories. Remember, sometimes they got fog lights, or it's on a truck. They're heavy steel bumpers and it can hit you in the face, and it is not fun. This is a nice, cheap U.S. General Harbor Freight special. You don't need anything fancy to get the job done. Simple, just enough not to get wet. Underneath the bumper, we have the plastic rivets, the plastic pop-out rivets. Typically on a bumper, there's about 4 to 10, depending. If you're dealing with Porsches, those have about 40. It sucks. Since we removed the screw, there's a bracket here that is held on by it's got about these plastic teeth. It kind of go like this, and the bumper inserts right here with some opening notches. As soon as the bumper's in, it clips into place. We're gonna drop this side, let it hang there. In some cases, it's helpful if you have somebody or a buddy that can help you remove the bumper. That way you don't drop it. If you don't, put a protector on the floor. Does not allow the bumper to get scratched, because if it's your first time doing this, the bumper can fall on its face and hit the concrete, therefore get scratched and damaged. So you can see here, we missed a rivet. So the rivet is attached at this point, which is your fender liner. It's got one on the front, one on the side, same thing on the other side. Okay. Now the bumper's off. This bumper has an emblem that is just clipped into place. Sometimes there's screws or bolts that hold it in place. It also has these grills. And over here, if you had fog lights, you would want to disconnect that. before we move the bumper, we need to pull the connector off. So when reinstalling our bumper, most of the time you end up breaking some clips. We're gonna just talk about these clips here. Most of these guys end up breaking off when you're taking them off. You can get these at, you can order them online. They're very inexpensive. They're about 25 cents a piece when you order them online. As you can see, the different sizes. So it all depends on the lid of the bumper and where it has to go in. Most of the time, Honda, Toyota, they end up using these guys over here on these ends. These are usually on the top. These are typically on the bottom, sometimes on the sides. These are meant for, it's a tree type. As you can see, these fins kind of shape up. So once they go in, they really hold things in place. And most of the time, these can be reusable, but these end up breaking. Whenever installing a bumper, you're gonna want to, depending on how heavy the unit might be, you can do it yourself, or if you have somebody helping you, it can really help you. If you're doing it by yourself, I always suggest grab the bumper from the middle, put your front top section up top first, and line everything up here. You can always put a rivet to hold it in place, and then you can go to work to the sides and then to the bottom. That's the most practical thing when you're doing a bumper by yourself. Again, because if this thing had headlights, several different grills and accessories, it can be very heavy. And the one thing you don't want is this unit flying around over here scratching your fender. As a matter of fact, if you're relatively new to this, you can put several pieces of tape here so you don't scratch it up. Okay, we're gonna put our two 10mm bolts up top. You don't want to over tighten that. You heard it? It's pretty tight. We're gonna leave the rest of them, so we have just a little bit of play, and we're gonna go to the sides and install the hardware there. Earlier we talked about sometimes there's teeth underneath the front and notches that you need to make sure your bumper sits, your bumper, not pumper, sits in those notches like that. The same thing goes in here. You got notches. They typically have a little hole like this, and then there's a notch, and when it goes in, it's guided. So make sure everything's in place, double check it. Now when you put these in, you hear the clip goes in. You want to make sure your fender liner's lined up. And we put our bolt. Okay, now we're going to put our plastic rivet in place to the fender liner. Underneath, you got bolts sometimes. Most of the time it's held on by plastic rivets. We're going to go ahead and install these guys. You want to make sure that you remember how your fender liner usually ends up tucked in underneath the bumper. So the reason why I've seen people put fender liners underneath here, well, what happens when you hit 50 miles an hour on the highway? And then you run over your own fender liner, next thing you know, you're running over your front bumper. You don't want that. Look at that, secure. Now we're good to go to finish up with our hardware here. Okay, and that's how you install a front bumper on a Toyota Corolla. Our mission at Ready Car Parts is to help do-it-yourselfers and car enthusiasts get the job done by making auto body simple, professional, and affordable.